morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Want to welcome y'all back to season 2 of Sport Life, the podcast. Woo, we back grinding again. Now I want to put y'all up on just a little bit about what's happening with the channel and the station. As always, this is Grind League LLC. I am a Revolver the MC, Revolver the producer, Revolver the talk show host, aka Government Rail James Spate. And what we do here is we talk serious, we talk funny, we talk real, we talk life, we talk self, we talk about others, we talk about them, us, they, and we. There's a lot of shit going on in the world, and as we diversify our portfolio, you'll be hearing me here with special guests now and then on Sport Life. And you can also always catch me and my homie Rhyme Scheme on the Grind League podcast. Both of these shooting out on Spotify and also on the website grindleaguellc.com. As the world falls apart around us, we not only need to discuss first what the problem is, identify, but we need to do more than just talk, which is what they seem to always want us to just do is talk. We need to plan, plot, and make a movement to change. Otherwise, those in power will stay in power, and those underfoot will stay underfoot forever and ever. Because if you was in power, why the hell would you want to give it up? Those in power that are just born into power don't even realize and recognize the power that they contain just by the color of their skin, the amount of money in their parents' pockets, the neighborhoods they live in, the schools that they go to. Paths are chosen before you make the decision. Paths are chosen for them, paths are chosen for us, paths are chosen for the poor. Who you vote for, what you stand for, what goes on inside your own walls of your home. These things, they have developed the curtain in the wall to put up so we never really talk and discuss and see where each other are. That way things will never change, everything remains in secret. And we must talk about these things. And here on Sport Life, we will talk about those things. I don't give a fuck who it is, where you are, what you do, where you came from. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. If it's knowledge, it's knowledge. Wisdom is wisdom. Wisdom is the key, not just the knowledge, because knowledge in itself is generally controlled. And once there's knowledge and control, it is meant to do certain things. It is meant to have certain effect. And we want the wisdom, we want the overall, we want the 10,000 foot view where we can see what the plan and the plot is, so we can watch where we're going, so we can plot and make a way through this jungle, because without our own thinking, we're just left to the devices of others. And those others don't want anything good for you. They're trying to fill their coffers, they're trying to raise their kids, they're trying to see their own future. And if you get ran over and killed and murdered and murked out and your family gets torn asunder in the process, that is what it is. But as always, I'm gonna welcome y'all to Sport Life. Yo, how y'all all doing? We gonna jump right into it. It's been a while. It's been a lot of shit to talk about, but I'm gonna just jump right into this one. It's a little crazy thing. Me and my peoples, we've been talking over the last few weeks, last month really, what's been going on. As you know, if you're paying attention to the news, and particularly how I think we're up to 5 or 6 states with Louisiana. I think they're Democratic, the first Democratic governor to sign in the heartbeat bill into legislation. And it's still all got to run up through the Supreme Court eventually. I know it's all angling to get there, but the base of the heartbeat bill, as it relates to abortion, is that they're going with the start of life begins when the heartbeat is first detected or detectable, um, which is set at about 6 weeks. Now, those who have dealt with pregnancy, who have children, women, men, fathers that know anything about science and the development will know and understand that a woman first oft is alerted to a pregnancy at about 30 to 35 days. So you're into your fifth week often, fourth week often. If your periods are stretched out, when you're first missing your period and you're doing your first, when you're young and old, those panic days, that panic week when you're not quite sure, especially if you're a little older. It actually happens with the younger too. Your period might move around a few days, so you're not quite sure. So this can put you deep into the fourth, fifth week, and this is when you're supposed to be almost at the 6 week mark, where it is or is intended or will be, if things pass, illegal to have an abortion at that point. So that's putting you in a small window, ladies. And I, for one, the question that I've been asking all the women, and my wife and some friends, I'm hoping they'll get together to have a women's group and just kind of talk about what's going on and how they're feeling. Because it's one thing for me to say, and I'm going to drop something on y'all, because as another part of what I've been talking about with my people is why. And my main homie, we talked about it for a while, and he was having an issue trying to figure out exactly what benefit this would be to those in power to force those that are poor to continue to have children, essentially, kind of by force with the tight window. You're also knocking back health care, which which I will drive down that road, and we will be aware that more black women are going to the doctor now than ever. The more black men are going now than ever, then that number is quickly falling back, because your grand wizard president is and the grand wizard Senate and Republicans in the House and Senate are removing and have been trying to remove all of Obama's health care. And as I've said, and if you've been following me, I don't really give a fuck about calling it Obama healthcare. But now I'm beginning to say it needs to always be called Obamacare, because he was the first motherfucker that got that shit through. And though people want to say the black man didn't do anything as president for black people, I again will point you to that. If nothing else, I will point you to millions of black families being, I've said it before, pretty much saved, because the hit rate on black women in breast cancer and the high blood pressure and the systemic things that will trigger and lead to the furthering of and advancement of and speed of breast cancer in the black woman, that number of early detection skyrocketed after the free healthcare, after universal healthcare, not free, after universal healthcare. Because black women were going to the doctor then. And we all know, as blacks, there's a trust factor with the medical community, and they are and have again with the pills here, which they did it to themselves. They doped up all their kids. They've knocked themselves back a generation. They've again proven themselves to be a little not trustworthy. And the doctors are doctors. You go through a lot to get there, but the duty to cause no harm should extend further than just the medical procedure itself, because the harm is often done after the medical billing, the insurance system, all of that, which keeps people going to free clinics and things that cost less or nothing, or arriving at the emergency room for BS things that should be checked off by a doctor, or not going because the emergency room is going to cost. It's just going to be a different rate, and the emergency room is a chop shop. They're not there to keep you for all of that. They're there to triage you, stop you from the bad shit, the emergency shit, and then get you to a doctor to get you on a regimen or whatever you're going to do with your medicines, etc. So with all that going away, we've got the black rates of women's health, and the breast cancer is starting to move back in the direction it was. Less ability to visit doctors, attend doctors, and when money's tight, et cetera, medical sometimes, though you seem, health is the thing, that seems to be the thing that takes a hit. And then, of course, as I said, we've got the just historical non-trust fact in, going to see another culture and the doctor, and you don't know if you can trust them, and you got the vaccines and testing and secret in the past and government testing. So the levels are deep, and the levels have been there for years. The levels have been substantiated, etc. But our discussion, what he wasn't able to put a finger on was why force them to have the kids, because that demographic, if you're going to spit out more poor black, poor white, poor Hispanic, in general, if you're going to the voting pools, even though they've got it locked up by the Electoral College, those are going to be Democratic votes, and those will do no good to those that are currently in power and that seem to want this current structure and are driving to deregulate all kinds of things, which the regulations, though, I'll give it to you, at times it's overboard, but you overregulate because humanity has proven to you in the past and currently that we'll do some foolish shit. If you don't fucking regulate it, if you don't tell us not to stick a pencil in our eye, boy, Americans will stick a few pencils in their eyes before some shit go wrong. And then even then, if you don't make it illegal, we'll just run around telling you it's your fault and that's a fool, and just watch a bunch of other motherfuckers stick pencils in their eyes. We need to be regulated. And then when the regulations are based on what America really goes ham for and what the world really goes ham for and has been the so-called root of evil, these regulations are based because if you let free market go all the time, once you get monopolies in place and everybody will be driving and monopolize whatever industry they're in, whatever they're doing, then it's going to be, either be eaten, kill or be killed, and some people are going to get trampled if you don't regulate it. Sometimes cuts will start, shortcuts will be made. Some outrageous shit will be made. Jobs will go anywhere on the planet if the labor is cheap. Who give a fuck if it's children working in a sweat factory? If you don't ever see them, and if your product and your investors and your bottom line is looking righteous to you, that's the way it is. You need the regulations. But this GOP group, this Republican group, who what I've come to as I've done a little research, and I found it quite interesting, coming out of the House of Representatives just a few months ago. And this is what I'm going to say. Logically, what he was saying, it makes all the sense in the world. Why are you going to generate more voters and more hateful people towards what you do, the more eyes that may potentially be open? Now, Let me preface this by including in this the dismantling of the family. Now, I'm not all of that rah-rah into the family structure and what that's always been, because if you trace it back, the family structure gets real hinky, like right historically around the corner. You know, the family, the mom, dad, the four square, the picket fence and all that is American shit. It really is American shit. That don't really exist anywhere else. The only other people historically that was keeping like hard to the nose to the earth, keeping their family together, was royalty. So much so that they inbred cousins, brothers, sisters. That's keeping it in. That was a family. And if that's what you modeling after, go on with that. I'm good. So don't be disillusioned and tricked into thinking that the family structure is what it's been taught to us as. It's been many other things over history. Now, the core still might be man, woman, and children. It may have been multiple men, multiple women. Community more is historically what it's been. If you do timeline on the planet, human family has been more about the entirety. It's as if saying everyone in the neighborhood where you live currently was actually considered your brother or sister. So therefore, that is part of what comes through in the black community, where you knew anybody in the neighborhood could kick your ass. Black mother, father wise. They could yell at you just like whatever. All the parents were supposed to know each other, and then you'll go home and get in just as much trouble from your own parents. And that's how shit stopped from happening. On the other hand, I'll show you the exact opposite. Historically, you have never been able to touch the white family kids. Not if you was white, and definitely if you was something else. The police officers used to bring drunk, fucked up kids back home to their parents. You used to actually drive them back and drop them back off and say your kid was out here tripping. Don't let it look bad on the family. Sweep that shit under the rug, and that's what it did. But nobody touched the kids. It definitely wasn't the neighbor touching the kids. Of course, they just, talking about white people, and historically, they've been wild, so they get into it. I mean, they would bust caps and niggas in the West for calling them a liar. That's what you had your side piece on you for. Any kind of discrepancy. But that's just mano a mano. It generally wasn't no kids mixed in there, so you wasn't touching nobody's kids. So these are two polar opposites. The American picket fence dream that's been sold to you, of course, has been crafted by those in power. So the structure that is coming out of that side, where you could never touch their family, things that went on behind closed doors was behind closed doors. Don't worry about who we voting for. What our political things is, you might see us on church on Sunday doing the fake God shit. But when church is over and before church start, you ain't got no worries and no concerns about what's going on with my motherfucking family. See, blacks was never like that. We all knew, and we all knew not to disrespect. Somehow, and if that culture's been there longer, and we know what the intervening fact was, I'll just leave it at that, and you know what changed it, because it's historically, we had held up a long time, and we still get down like that because the families is close. If you're in the right neighborhood, etc. If you in the wrong neighborhood, etc., you know that your boy parents can bang on you if y'all right. If you're on these little hoodlums and the teacher say something crossways to you or whatever, or the neighbors say some shit where you knew you shouldn't have been throwing rocks at the house, blah, 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 your goofy ass parent will come out and try to fight them, try to be up at the school, beating up the teacher and the principal. Now that's some ratchet shit. That's not what our core is. But whatever that is that has bled in from that other culture, that other side, those other dreams that they sold you, it's now got y'all acting like that. Now, that's that. Point being, the families are now separated. You've got the government willing to go in the pockets of, there's nothing wrong with this, It's how it's set up, but understand things are set up for a reason. To go in the pockets of a father, put him in jail, take away a license, which quickly would lead to you not having the ability to obtain work. All of that, if you have a child with a woman who the woman has ultimate right, if she has it or not, be in your pocket and fund the lady. Fund the woman and the kid. There's no confirmation that the money's going directly to the kid. So until that kid is of age and somehow speaking to the friend of the court and, able to confirm that this money is going straight to them, they're not spending it. They're not dictating what their cost of living is. So what it is you're essentially, the government has stepped in, taken control of the family that it created the structure for, remember, made your family, what would have been family, the wife and the kid, essentially wards of the state, and say that we will become the slave hunter for you. We will go out there, get pops, we'll make him work. If he don't work, if he fronting, we'll put him in jail, which costs taxpayers more money, blah, 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 vicious cycle, stupid shit. But they're in the place of a corner of a pillar of the family and able to do whatever they want and have stated loudly, proudly, clearly, they're on the woman's side. Friend of the court is really friend of the mother. It's not even friend of the child. It's friend of the mother. So you've got the family separated. So you've got the man part of that equation has been on that outs for many, many a year. And if we do the historical ride, we take that all the way back. If you want to touch slavery, you want to touch the division of the family there, you want to talk about even just as random as music, blues music, the church, the fields, the split there, what was told to the women by the pastor about blues music, about field music and the difference in that. And that message would then sent back out as a divisive tool to the field men who listened to and played their own type of music, but then the church was calling it devil music, trickling down from slavery, trickling down from the master's talk in the master's Bible. Now got you calling the thing that you guys have made in the fields to get through the day devil music, while you're in the church as the pastor teaching the teachings of the slave master to the women who are attending, and then turning them against the men with this message. This divisiveness has been there forever. From that culture to this culture. From that color to this color. So the divide is in there, the split's in there. So now you have some shaky households in the cities, and the next move you want to make, this is the thing, and this is the pretty thing. Sorry about that. This is the thing. Dropping back to, as I said, what I found interesting that came out in the House, these are House bills, I believe 154 and 317, and I will read. Recognizing the week of April 11th through April 17th, 2019 as Black Maternal Health Week, to bring national attention to the maternal health crisis in the Black community and the importance of reducing maternal mortality and morbidity among Black women. Further, the resolution recognizing the week of April 11th through April 17th is Black Maternal Health Week to bring national attention to the maternal health crisis in the Black community and the importance of reducing maternal mortality and morbidity among Black women. Whereas, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Black mothers in the United States are 3 to 4 times more likely than white mothers to die from pregnancy-related causes. Whereas black women in the United States suffer from life-threatening pregnancy complications known as maternal morbidities twice as often as white women, whereas maternal mortality rates in the United States are, one, amongst the highest in the developed world, two, increasing rapidly, whereas the United States has the highest maternal mortality rate among affluent countries, in part because of the disproportionate mortality rate of black mothers. Whereas black women are 49% more likely than white women to deliver prematurely, whereas the high rates of maternal mortality among black women span across income levels, education levels, and socioeconomic status. Whereas structural racism, gender, oppression, and the social determinants of health inequities experienced by black women in the United States significantly contributes to the disproportionately high and consequential role in maternal health care experiences and outcomes. Whereas a fair distribution of resources, especially with regard to the reproductive health care services and maternal health programming, is critical to closing the maternal health racial disparity gap. Now, from the second bill there, highlighting the part that the bill to support the states and their work to end preventable morbidity and mortality in maternity care by using evidence-based quality improvement to protect the health of mothers during pregnancy, childbirth, and the post-mortem period, and to reduce the neonatal and infant mortality, to eliminate racial disparities in maternal health outcomes, and for other purposes. The Committee on Emergency and Commerce. Actually, that's the end of my read there. So, that there, I knew, but did not know it was that fucked up. Now, as we may go back and address the issue, the question, the quandary that me and my homie came upon, why would they do that? Bling. There I got some clarity. So if stage one is to divide the home, you have man outside home, woman inside home with child. Two, you have given, assisted, provided the woman with means, routes, transportation, ways to say, don't really need you, never really needed you. And if by chance, or if by purpose, as a lot of you do know who have been caught up, quote unquote, trapped, the old language, in a pregnancy, and the woman has the pregnancy, she can immediately say, fuck you. And not just fuck you, go away, but fuck you, you can't go away. But then you might not be able to see a kid. You might not be able to visit, but what I can do is put my hands via the government into your pockets. So we've got a woman with this knowledge, and with women that have been employing this thought pattern for a number of years and are now getting comfortable with it. And of course, we've got women's rights and women's lib, and we stand up with them and for all of that. But just consider everything that's happening in this world as a marketing plan, because that's what it is. So you must consider how to market to, and what to market, and the effect of the marketing, and what the outcome is you want. So this has been marketed to you. Black woman, poor woman, woman of color. If you're not white, middle and up, lower and up, it's all in there. Even with them, they're getting divorced, even with big baller money, and they getting half. All of that is part of the same construct of, I don't need you. And if we are together and you fuck up, I can break out with half your shit at any time. Dudes, it's very, 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 very rare. And I ain't even gonna say no whole shit because that's part of the construct. But that's what's built in. That's the marketing. It's marketed to you that if you was a dude in this situation, there's no way that you can look at yourself like a man, get a divorce, and then ask the woman for money. It is just marketed to us already where it's set that way. But girl is marketed differently. It's marketed to the girl like, yeah, go get that shit. Go get that, girl. You earn that. He may have been doing shit for 50 years before you actually broke hands, knuckles, feet, and knees. And you may have just been sitting around the house, may have used whatever. You may have had a job, but you might not have been balling. Now, if y'all was balling on, if y'all was equally yoked, as they say, now that's fine. But if y'all equally yoked, you will find that those couples don't break up talking about money. Not money like I'm taking half your shit. They equally yoked. They broke up and said, bitch, get on your way. It was nice knowing you. Shit didn't work out, but I'm going to continue on my grind. You continue on your grind. Then that's what it is. So now you've got this mindset. Now we're going to bring it back down to the money levels where we at. We got this mindset. And so now you've instilled into the young black woman that she doesn't need the man, into the young colored poor woman that she doesn't need the man. The man is now looking at the system like it's against him, not just the regular laws that are all built on returning the slave home and bullshit property protection and lies and fear, etc. But now you know that there's also the other head of Cerberus is on you. On the child front, anything that happens there, generally you're gonna come out the loser. You know this, the girl knows this, they know this. So, if you're pulling back healthcare, and we see, as I explained earlier, what those numbers have done just simply on, not simply, but it's a major thing, on breast cancer, the number dropping over the past years and now starting to go back up because the healthcare was there. And now from the bill that I've read you that came through on the House side, the mortality rate during pregnancy, during birth, after pregnancy, for these people is way crazy. The black woman alone, according to this bill, this is coming through the government, has the number so tilted that we are so out of whack with the rest of the world. Now think about this. It's said of, a certain level of country. Now that's including all the developed countries. And you would think in your mind, medicine-wise, healthcare-wise, the United States, even if you know Canada and Britain, I believe, also has free healthcare or universal healthcare, even if you know those exist, do you really think in your heart of hearts, if they lined up surgeons and you had some shit going on, that you're not going to pick the American surgeon from the top school here, you are going to think that we have the best doctors. But yet, apparently you losing black women during pregnancy just left and right. The number's shocking to me. Now, thirdly, if you were trying to really destroy a culture, you would have called a culture and a people in a race, you would certainly go about things in this country how you have. You may have done it at a different time. Certain things may not have happened. We may not have been where we are. You may have done a better job in the past of really keeping the slavery boot down, and it may have never changed. And note there, we don't credit Lincoln for the slavery thing, because if you know history, that's not what that was about. Again, it was about money. Not anything black, other than it being the biggest cog in the machine that was generating the money for the South. Now, so if you have the forethought to think, okay, so we've got the power unit out of the family structure, the testosterone, the machismo, the muscle, the one that might get the gun to protect the house if you come around fucking around, the one that will, if all things are lined up, direct the kid to be intelligent soldiers, not soldier like the soldier they want, but soldier in mind and spirit, where you won't fall for the okie doke, where you know if you have a male in the house, the truths are going to be brought to the forefront much faster. You know, daddy's gonna come off the Santa Claus Christmas story much faster than mom. The Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and all of that's gonna go out the window much faster if it's father in the house. So therefore you begin to take off the little pretty princes and the every man can be president and astronaut cloak of fantasy and dream that they put up to just lead you into bullshit. And at the same time, you can also explain that you don't have to go down the same bullshit that they seem to show is the only other path or the only other outcome. There are millions and millions of outcomes for everyday people, if not shackled and controlled by the beast that the beast is at this time. So, everybody's on the outs in the family. Father's looking at it like, I know everything's against me. He knows that he's behind the proverbial bullet and trigger and gun with the woman. If she decides to go whichever way she's gonna go, you're gonna be at the mercy of the courts and the system. You know the raising of your child is at the whimsy and mercy of that girl. And if you are mid going through the struggle, then you ain't got no faith in her because you see what she doing. You probably somewhere like, what the fuck? She get me in the bind. But you know, you might not be shit. I ain't just gonna check it out and put it all on the girls. You might not be shit either, because you've been programmed and marketed to as well. But the underlying fact here is that they've broken it up and you're now sending just the woman, because we've proven one thing. Sex is gonna take place. Sex don't stop. AIDS ain't stopped sex. Herpes ain't stopped sex. Ain't nothing stops sex. I don't think anything would ever stop sex. Yeah, the kids now, they are on the decline, of course, because they looking at this monstrous world. And we got androgynous shit happening. We got scales happening, sexuality scales. So it's all a wash for them, and they figuring out a brand new world on that side. Fortunately, the world's gonna be what it is because genetics, physics, geometry, chemistry, and life. So, sex ain't gonna stop. So now we are going to expect and set an expectation is the correct thing. You're going to expect, if you develop the market and who you market it to, and you knowing that sex isn't going to stop, you know that you've got the two parties at odds with each other. You've got one under the thumb. We've got one knowing she can go into the house of master and say, listen, and master will come out and strap old boy to the tree on your behalf, quote unquote. It's not really on your behalf, but then you can see that if sex is going to continue, that young lady, that woman is going to, at some point, there's a high probability, especially young and fucking, that she's going to end up pregnant. She's going to first be super scared if she's young, super paranoid, and ta-da, 6.5 weeks is going to blow by like poof. She'd be scared. Man, it's mothers that carry the term, young mothers that carry the term, hide it the whole time, drop the baby off somewhere. That's out of fear. Do you know what kind of pressure you put on a young mind, young, feeble, unprepared mind now when you are boxing this decision-making period down into a couple weeks? Fear and panic and the shit that kids will do because they're embarrassed, don't know who to say, what to say, who to talk to, that shit is gonna go nuts. And they can't travel to other states to get the abortion. Also, they're making that travel illegal and they're kicking the doctors in the nuts to the tune of 99 years in prison is on a couple of these motherfucking bills that no doctor's gonna want to touch that. You can't go down to Mexico. You got border problems. My other man asked me, so listen, how would they ever know? How can they track them when the girl just hop up? No, you already need a passport to move almost everywhere, and certainly to Canada or to Mexico. You get on a boat, you 1,000 need that passport to get in and out. So they gonna know where in and out you are, and those doctors in those other places will become targets of the U.S. and will be prosecuted, and companies will be shut down, and drugs will not be shipped there. So these young women will not be able to go anywhere, even if they had some means to do it, to get this abortion. So, now you've got poor, colored face, young women, having kids, no time to go, fear, and what we've now discovered, as I read, the chance of you dying in the process. Oh, by the way, the healthcare's fucked up now too, because they withdrew that. You may have gone. But now what? They're setting you up to die. And if all of the things historically you've tried to do, one thing that you found out from your perch looking at us is that the fucking is going to continue. The fucking continue through slavery, the fucking continue through civil rights, the fucking continue through all points in history. So you know children are going to continue to be produced. That lady is going to go, that girl is going to be horny, the kids dude's going to be horny, they going to fuck, the kids is going to show up, and the young woman raised off bad food, etc., chips and Cheetos, and Faygo Pop, Pepsi, Coke. Take Faygo out of there. Is now at a risk of just dying during any stage of this. It's gonna go by too fast for her to pull out of it if there was, for whatever reason, if she wanted to get the abortion with her own body. She's now facing the death at what is apparently a staggeringly unbalanced rate. So now if I've marketed that to you and I've tried, like I said, everything, and you see fucking's gonna continue, so you're not stopping the people. You're not stopping the production of the people, because the sex and the having of babies is continuing. However, you can have a bunch of men running around here all you want. If there are no women, there are no babies. If the women are dying at that rate, this information is known. this time frame is now shut down. Now you're forced into a situation that could possibly lead to your death. And apparently, by the numbers, is at a higher rate than normal, whatever normal is. It's not normal for the science and medicine that we have. Aren't you, as a young woman, going to start saying, you're going to have to be real careful on the protection side of the game. You're going to have to abstain from it, period. And you're going to get a fucking attitude. Just in that this is what it is. I don't fully have control of what this night might turn out to be because of law. From their side, if the mothers are shut down, the production of the babies is shut down, and now the plan has a course. You understand what I'm saying? That is how you stop any society. You don't have to kill old people. You just have to fuck up the ones having the babies and fuck the babies up. Now, are the babies fucked up? Yep. Is the water fucked up in Flint? Yep. Is the water fucked up in a lot of other places? Yep. What's the effect of that? Mental issues? Yep. Do you think that niggas is just in these cities just killing each other? Does it make any sense? Nope. Do you think that there's something else that might be affecting actions? Yep. Do you think that has to do with environment? Yep. In that environment, what does that environment include? Education, health, income, housing, food. Each one of these have been tampered with, put into certain boxes, certain avenues that you may just be blocked off from. You'll find yourself blocked off from them. The way to stop any of that is to affect the production of the children, to affect the production of future young warriors. Now, we also will put a little highlight on the autism scale. I'm probably a little older than a lot of my listeners, so I can tell you at a point where autism wasn't a word. And I'll tell you, the kids weren't here. They weren't here. You had, I love old language, you had retarded children, and that was that. Those children didn't need to be scaled. They all seemed about the same. Term and terminology, blanket, yeah, you want to be specific when you know specific, but the autism scale now, this stuff wasn't that thing. This is different. So something is about that is changing things, has changed things. And in the Black community, it has really changed a lot of things. And what I want to do also here is and if you've been following me, you know, I will say, and I've said, on the news, when you see a story about a kid missing in the inner city, just disappearing, walking out of the house, on the way to the store, disappeared, I immediately, one of the first things, you know, all of the bad things that probably happened to the person probably happened to the person. But the first thing I've noticed, and I've been right a high percentage of times, is that kid has mental deficiencies. Well, girls, bodies develop. Boys out there, fucking monsters that will fuck with them. On the boy side, you got these niggas that think they can be disrespected, etc. When your whole life in this country you disrespected, so how dare you be disrespected by another nigga on the same plank as you, silly ass niggas. You just got thug niggas that's robbing, and they from the generation that's already tainted by paint and bad food and bad parenting and etc., and just shit that's going on that's just gonna fuck with you to fuck with you just because you different. The girls that's developed, you got these whack ass no game having motherfuckers that'll fuck with a little child, will just fuck with somebody because the body there and they see the brain ain't there, and they'll try to just sub them out on some. These is just dirtbag human beings, but they're all over the place because, as I said, ours are already affected. They just turning it up. You know, bad water and all that, that's just an add-on that was discovered. It was discovered now. And then they gave a reason behind it where it's been going on. It's always been going on when you get it discovered and they say it. It's always been there, just like the Delta planes. Remember, it's been going on. The new planes don't work because they put a system in the new planes to fix a problem that was in the old planes, dummies. They told you that right in your face. We put this in, and it's to stop the nose from the plane from tipping up. Why the nose from the plane tip up? Because there was a problem in the old technology. So you put new technology in that you don't know that work, but it's just there to fix that. So when shit go ham and the plane dive into the ground, they can explain it because they already tried to deal with it and swept it under the rug. No one even questioned or said, hey, so you put this in to replace, and we know it's expensive, and you have a whole new fleet of planes. And why would you do that unless some things have happened? Because guys don't do a lot. You know, it's expensive to do all of that unless some things have been discovered. You've been tipped off about something. Otherwise, you keep flying the planes. They have 20, 30, 40 years, you know, shelf life on a plane. Ain't no need to be doing all that. So things like that, they're in your face. You just got to know where to look and be aware. So be, you know this wildness. This is the outcome of shit that's been being input into the system for a long time. But my underlying point here is, can you see that the removal of the mother from that equation, the birthing of not strong, healthy babies, those that make it through might be autistic, may have an issue, but that's how you win that war. And I think that's the front that they're on. I think that's the foot that they've taken. Because it seems by what they're doing with the healthcare, with the borders, with the deregulation, all of this is a part of a larger focus that at the bottom, at the spear of that needle, the point of that needle is the separation and dismantling of certain peoples of culture. So now if all the mothers are going to, die off, and these stats here showing that it's in effect, they're not making it through pregnancy. That doesn't and shouldn't even make sense to you as a black woman, because look around at your genetics. Let's get into the genetic thing. Look at your genetics and tell me why you, as a black woman, would fall from anything faster than a white woman or any other woman on the planet. Look at the genetics. Look how you are made. Look at how strong you are, how fast you are. Is there a reason, other than something on purpose, that you would be dying there at any rate, anything close to bad, anything close to what the other races are? You appear to be the superior genetic machine here. History has proven that. Always back it with history. Societies have proven that. Length of time on the planet and the original human being has proven that. So now why suddenly are you the one that's on the weak end of the scale, where your life is in danger just getting pregnant, carrying to full term, and having a baby as natural says it is? Why would you, beautiful machine, strongest machine, toughest machine, be the thing that falls apart during childbirth? I'm going to end it there and just cap it with that. Now, that's the underlying thing. Does there not seem like there's something on purpose there? What happened when you did go to the doctor? In the end, to give birth. If you may die, the child may die, and everybody essentially goes to essentially the same doctors, same degrees, different level of skill, of course, but same medical teaching. Why are you showing up and not leaving? Why is the baby dying? Why are you having babies and dying afterwards? You or both you and the baby? Does it not seem like there's something medical, if not on purpose, there? If not in the medicine, the procedure, whatever it is. I'm going to dig in on that and try to get to some of that and see if I can find some on that. But there definitely seems like there's something fishy there. You are not the ones that should be dying off at that rate unless there is a severe intervening factor. And if there's an intervening factor in this world and in these times, I believe it would have to be, and it's definitely something on purpose. Take that with you. Again, this is Sport Life. I will talk to you soon. And it ain't always so heavy. Shout out to Leonard for winning game 1, finals. Jordan 2 is what I call him. Y'all don't understand. They've lost game 2 last night, but, you know, Golden State's Golden State. The shooters is the shooters. But shout out to Kawhi. We're going to talk more sports. Next podcast certainly will be, I'm still trying to decide on that, but it'll be a little longer. Might come down from the 2 to 2.5 hour to 1 to 1.5 hour, and just fire off more frequently. Like to talk to y'all, less space in between since so much stuff has happened. It's been so long since the last one that, it's been so many things that I want to just ride on bitch ass Donald Trump about that I'm gonna get to. Hopefully they impeach this motherfucker, because I don't think you should be able to keep it if you stole it. I don't believe you should be able to keep it if you got it legally. You know, that's just the ravings of a sane, balanced man though. That's me. That's what I'm saying. And it seems like as the American people, no matter what level of all heartache it would be to go vote on another day, we could make it on a motherfucking Saturday if we choose, but this motherfucker needs to be retracted, redacted, reshuffled, and reshifted. And if anything, once we found out that a whole foreign nation, which I knew because my Twitter account got tore the fuck up, my shit was getting bombed by bots from the start to the finish because I was riding. And yeah, my joint went from 100-some thousand followers down to 15,000 followers when they got done trashing my shit out. But that's because I was on there talking and talk, though, like I will always do and will continue to do. But y'all, keep in mind, Anything you give in a hand ain't a
If you got it illegally, if you got it, foreign helps. The least thing we should have did was have another election. You can run the same two parties if you want, and let's see what it really is. But for some reason, mighty United States can't do that. We can start closing borders off and shit overnight. We can go bomb other places overnight, etc., etc. But when it comes down to the most important thing that makes America America, motherfuckers couldn't stomach it enough to fucking go redo this motherfucking vote. All they bullshit gerrymandering, all they bullshit electoral college. You got it. You lost by a landslide on the popular vote, dude. But the Republicans and they bitch asses, and Trump and his bitch ass and his bitch ass family, and all these this is the whole country of bitches that just didn't look at this and say, dude, this is what this country's supposed to be about. If at nothing is supposed to be about some democracy shit, which comes down to a vote for a vote. Even though we already copping to the electoral college and it's not a vote for each man and woman, we could at least have said, no, that's too much interference. And you, sir, you don't deserve it because we don't know what that is. You don't deserve it because that's not all your work. Somebody else, oh, yo, daddy, you used to that. See, you didn't think it was weird. That's why you still acting like a bitch and not like a true American or a true man and saying, you know what, I didn't earn this. I don't think I earned this. I don't fucking feel right. But you feel right as rain. Still the same bitch that stole from his father. Still the same bitch that lost billions. I give it to you because you somehow suckered motherfuckers into giving you billions, or you know, whatever you did, whatever they paid you off for, etc. You too should have been like, nah, I don't want to take it like this. All these sucker ass Republicans who was supposed to stand for whatever, but we knew they didn't really stand for anything. We just trace it back to Obama's years when they wasn't trying to do nothing. This motherfucker done got up in this bitch. These motherfuckers letting these judges up in here and they're trying to fuck this country up as far as progress goes for the next 100 fucking years. You gotta be awake and see what the fuck is going on. You gotta be awake. You gotta recognize what is happening, why it is happening. And we, the people, should do something about it. Should have done something about it. Should do something about it. They over here scared, talking about impeachment and shit. I do understand. Don't trip on Nancy P because the knowledge is there. Understand, I'm going to say this simple to you because when they say it, it don't really make sense. Donald Trump may indeed like the impeachment process to go forward because at the end of it, it goes to the Senate. The Senate is full of those dick-sucking, ass-kissing, cowering motherfuckers that have been riding coattail and ducking from this motherfucker this whole time. So they, as the legal part of the system, get the final say. Now, we can censure them. We can act like the Republicans did and say nothing's going to get through. But the last word on the impeachment and kicking his ass physically out of the building and out of office goes to his own lackey. So that will not happen. Now, being the simps that the American public is, the issue with that is if we get to see all this information come out and they somehow gloss it over when he's out of office, no one will pursue the prosecution. See, you can still prosecute an ex-president. If he's gone through the process and is going to sit there and then say, look, listen, you've seen everything. They didn't impeach me. Let me pass, good sir. This country might likely say, you know what? You're right. It's already gone through, quote unquote, the court system, which it's not. It'll be the Senate. We've seen it, blah, blah, blah. All the information will come out and be in front of the public, who then the only recourse is kicking him out of office. The legal side will kind of fall away. Now, the key is he would want that, because what the true danger to this fella is, when he gets out of office, he may likely end up in a prison and needing to be pardoned. He may be, and I'm thinking, the first president actually facing and may be sentenced to prison time. So, if the impeachment process does not go forward now, all that information that the Southern District in New York has, a few other states have things on him that are in the works, those things will remain undercover and will then move gracefully and quietly into the court systems, where they will be handled like a case will be handled. Those things will come up and those prosecutions will go through. These are the same prosecutions and prosecutors and the same case tales that have left Cohen in jail, as well as others. Those things are hot. He knows those things are hot. And that's without the tax. That's without all the money element, which he's really pissing on himself about. That's where all of the hammers start to fall. So when you start trying to track that fucking money and see why that money was, where that money was, how you was shifting money, how you was lying on taxes, how you didn't file taxes, how you ran an end around the United States, got money from a foreign place, happens to be the same foreign place that fucked around in the election, and your ass will be in jail or paying whatever left imaginary money the Trump Enterprises has. Back in civil and criminal court costs, attorney costs. You know that boy's attorney's cost is running wild right now. Wonder who paying for that? You say paying for it all himself, but you know that money's coming from PACs, etc. He's still down there golfing. He's still down there having dinners. All of it. This is all still essentially somebody else's money paying for his bullshit. So, y'all ponder on that. Again, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night. Sport Life Podcast. This is Revolver, the MC. I'll see y'all soon.